Welcome to Resilient Now, everybody. Podcast, Resilient Now podcast. We're here. We're here with Cam. I'm super excited. Don't know her very well, but we are going to get to know her. So, what Resilient Now podcast, what the purpose of this, the mission for this is to find you people who have gone through what you're going through right now. So, whatever it is, my mission is to try to find you a speaker that has gone through whatever that's happening, devastating, sad in your life that is on the other side of that. And you can listen to that person as many times as you can want to on my website, resilientnowpodcast.com, or on Spotify, YouTube, Apple. I have shows on there too with episodes. So we're really happy you're here, and hopefully you will find some strength and some hope in this podcast. So Cam, thank you for being here. Thank you so much. I'm so excited to hear you soon.
Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, of course. So I always start the podcast with, what does resilient now mean to you?
Resilient now means to me being a survivor rather than a victim in whatever situation you have gone through. Being a survivor means that you got through the situation, you continue every day to get through it rather than being a victim and allowing it to consume you. So being resilient is being a survivor.
There's so much power in that too, and saying I'm not a victim. So I love that. So thank you so much. So again, I have a website and it has different resources. There's links there to free resources like different kinds of 12-step programs, and it describes what they do. So you can go to the website and just click on resources. You can hear some people in Spanish as well. So there's some really great things on the website. But I just want to hear, Cam's story right now. That's what I want to hear. So you're on. I can't wait to hear your resilient story, and I know it's going to help many. So there you go. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you again for having me. It has been a few years since, I'm usually so open about everything that I've gone through in hopes that it helps somebody else realize that they're not alone. And I feel like this is the perfect platform for that. Um, when I was 15, teenage dream, teenage lust, I met who I thought at the time was the love of my life, my soulmate. I had been severely bullied as a child, so my self esteem was at an all time low, and I never thought that I was going to be capable of love or anyone loving me because of who I was. I grew up in a predominantly white area. I'm Afro Latina, so I just thought love was not for me, and I had grown up seeing my mother and my father being in the most loving relationship ever. They've been together over 30 years, and I grew up with the most positive example of what love was. So I never expected myself to be in a abusive relationship uh, because of that, because of the examples that I was given. But like I said, my self esteem was at an all time low. So my my lenses were clouded because of that. And the first person to give me attention, I was unhealthily obsessed with the idea of love and being in love. Um, so I met this boy when I was 15, a sophomore in high school. And I guess you could say he was uh, the bad boy type. I was in all honors and AP classes, and he was failing all of his classes and just out doing drugs and selling drugs. And there was just something about him that piqued my interest. And I had the biggest crush on him. I believe we had one class together. He was in the grade above me. Um, and then one day he spoke to me, and that was such a big deal for me, having his attention. And we exchanged numbers. We began talking and talking for weeks, and he eventually asked me out on a date. And I remember being so excited and feeling so accomplished, like, "Yes, I finally got his attention, we're going on a date." Like, all these other girls want to have my position right now. So we went on a date, we started dating casually, and then he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I was on cloud 9. I mean, I felt like I had almost manifested it by having this crush on this boy, and then, I didn't really do much, but just say to myself, like, "Oh, I wish that he could be mine," and then there he was. He was mine. Um, so everything was great until it wasn't. I believe 2 or 3 weeks into us being an official couple, I got a call from him saying his mother had kicked him out of the house. And at this point, I didn't really know much about his history or his family. I just knew that there was a lot of strained relationships there. Um, so I, invited him over to my house, uh, and we were just talking, and I told him everything was going to be okay, that we would figure it out. And he spent the night at a friend's house. Didn't think much of it until the next day when he didn't show up to school. He wasn't answering any of his messages, and when he found me at school and told me that he had been arrested for
Mm,
assault. Um, I didn't know any details. Nobody knew any details. I got his mother's number from his friend, and I had spoken to her, and she was very vague about the details. She had said that her roommate and my boyfriend at the time had gotten into a physical altercation.
mm,
She didn't tell me over what or really anything. So I was in the dark. And instead of, now I'm 24 and I've had all of this life experience, instead of thinking this is the biggest red flag ever, I thought, I'm going to stick by his side and we're going to figure it out, and whatever the situation is, we're going to get through it. Um so he was sent to juvenile hall, and I remember I received a call from collect from him, and at first I didn't answer because I'm not expecting a unknown number call from anyone.
mhm,
And he had left me a voicemail saying, "I'm here at this juvenile hall. I'll explain everything when I can." And he told me that he loved me. And I laugh now, being older, because, we had only been dating for maybe a month, officially for 2 weeks at this point.
mhm,
Um, and at that age, I didn't know what love was. Uh, but that to me was everything. So finally got to speak to him. We would speak every day on collect. The bills for that rang high, let me tell you. But it was worth
mm,
it because I was able to speak to him, and
right.
communicated through written letters. And I remember I kept all of his letters in a box under my bed, and I would read them, and it just felt like this like forbidden romance movie. And I remember all of my friends at the time thinking that it was so romantic, like he's stuck locked away and we're still speaking and writing old fashioned letters instead of texting and
Mhm,
talking on the phone. um, until about, I want to say it was almost a year into the relationship, at this point he got sent to a group home, and we weren't
mhm,
allowed to see each other, and I wasn't sure why. I found out the real reason why he was arrested in the first place. And even now, I will admit, because of everything that I stand for, um, as a woman, as a person, as an advocate, I'm very ashamed, I would say, of how I handled the situation. But again, at this point, I was only 16. I didn't know any better. I had no life experience. I thought, again, this is the love of my life, and I have to help him and I have to be there for him. Um, I found out that he was arrested because he and his mother's roommate got into an altercation over the mother because I guess my boyfriend at the time had been heavily drinking and was using heavy drugs. And one night he sexually assaulted his mother when she was sleeping. Um, and I remember my world just shattered. I had so much disgust and so many questions, no answers. And I just was thinking, how can I have a future with somebody that's capable of this? Like, what if we had children? And I was just so many questions, no answers. Um, and ultimately, I stayed because all of the adults in the situation on his end, therapists, his mother, counselors were saying, it's quote unquote okay because A, B, and C. So they were
Mm,
making excuses for the situation.
right.
And because I was so young and I'm looking to these adults for guidance and they're telling me, it's okay. He was doing drugs. He wasn't in the right mind.
Mhm.
It's fine. I thought that it was fine. And now being an adult, that's why I say I'm ashamed of that part of my life or that decision to stay and just accept it because obviously that's horrific. It's not okay. Um, there should not have been any excuses made for that. And if I could go back in time, I would protect that child version of myself and say, this is not the person for you if they are capable of doing this to their own flesh and blood. Um, this is not the person for you, period. This is just like some high school crush gone bad.
Yeah.
Um, so we had stayed together, and eventually, when he turned 18, um, he was released from the group home and put into adult housing. And, I thought everything was great. We were finally physically together. At 17, I had lost my virginity to him. And again, I was on cloud nine. And I thought, like, this is my person. Uh,
Mhm.
at the time, I was very, like, whoever you give your virginity to, like, that's your person, that's your forever. Which saying that now, very naive in most cases. But we were together, we were playing house, like we would go buy groceries for his place, we would be buying furniture. I remember we bought like a gigantic flat screen TV for his place. Like it was just everything that we had been wanting in these letters back and forth for years. And at this point, we had been together 2 years, I want to say. So I was 17. And of course, I the red flags kept coming, but my rose-colored glasses were on, and I discovered that cheating on me. Because before he had no phone access, now he had his phone, and now he was free to
Mm.
do whatever he wanted. And I was very naive to think that he would be the same person he was in the letters. Uh, Now he had the whole world at his hands, and he cheated on me. We would break up and get back together and break up and get back together. And I felt like we kept coming back to each other because, the universe wanted us to be together and this was my soulmate, this was my person. But it was a trauma bond. Uh,
Yeah.
and it was so toxic, and he was so verbally abusive. Like, I remember I would spend my days just crying, and I even say now, like, I would tell him that the sky is blue, and he would find something wrong with that and argue with
Mhm.
me and try to debate with me over the smallest thing. And it was just it went from 0 to 100 to 100 to 200 so quickly, and it was just a horrible situation to be in. And I
I'm sorry.
stayed. Thank you. I stayed because, we had gone through everything that we'd gone through, and I knew about his childhood and his situations, and I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I wanted to save him, essentially. Save him from his past, his home life, uh, just all the cards that he had been dealt, and in the process, I lost myself. Um,
Yeah. So tell us how you got out of this, the resilient part of it. What got you out of it? What was the thing that made you get out of it?
oh God, well, I got out of it kicking and screaming.
Hmm.
'Cause when I at the what made me leave was he ended up sexually assaulting me on multiple occasions, and the last straw for me was uh, being raped a month before I turned 18.
I'm
Um,
sorry.
Thank you. And I didn't know at the time that's what it was,
Hmm.
because I had been so used to the concept where it has to be a stranger,
Hmm.
or like, has to be violent and gory like they show in movies and the media, and it wasn't that. Um, but once it hit me, because I had been experiencing symptoms of PTSD, I had nightmares, I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep, I it was just like I had all these intrusive thoughts, and it wasn't me, and I was scaring myself. I realized, the if this was truly my person, that they would never have done any of that to me. Um,
Hmm.
so I ended the relationship. I ended up reporting everything to the police, because he had already had a record at that point. Uh, Spoiler alert, nothing ended up happening because it was basically a he said, she said situation.
Right. Yeah.
But even though nothing happened, I was still very proud of myself for going through the motions. And
I'm proud of you too, because look
thank
at you
you.
now. Look at you now.
Yes.
You were resilient. You got out of that situation. And again, you were so tied to him emotionally that that must have been really hard for you. And you were so young. So,
Yeah, it was. And especially because I did everything myself because I didn't want to burden friends or family, like going to all these lawyers and police stations and everything. Um, but it it definitely rewired my brain, and
mhm,
once I got my PTSD diagnosis from
mhm,
a psychiatrist, I think that snapped something in me and changed something within me and made me realize that I did not have to go through what I did in the past 3 years, but I went through it, and what am I gonna do about it now? And I started becoming very outspoken about, um, teen relationships, and especially teenage, abusive relationships, because, I mean, even though these are essentially children that we're dealing with,
yeah, it's
it's
kids. Hmm.
yeah, it's still very real, and it happens. And I just wanted people to see that they're not alone, and because I felt alone,
Yeah.
and it's not a good feeling alone, especially when you're going through something as scary and awful as that. Um, and by speaking up, I began getting messages. I used to have a blog where I would detail everything that I went through and the whole process of reporting and everything. And unfortunately, I ended up taking everything down because my ex boyfriend found everything and he said, he started threatening, like, I'm going to sue you for defamation of character and blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. And it was just all, I mean, abusive tactics still, even though we were no longer
Hmm.
together. Um, so I, it was so oddly refreshing getting feedback from other people and hearing other people's stories of resilience and how they made it out the other end. And it just created this sense of community because when you're going through something hard, you don't
Hmm.
want somebody else to go through it, but it's oddly comforting knowing somebody else went through it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it was comforting hearing all these other stories and knowing like I had this team or army, whatever you want to call it, behind me. And like I
And
mentioned
where did you find that army? Where did you, so I know you went to psychiatrist, so that was good. So you got some help medically, so that's good. Where did you find the army? What would you tell somebody who's going through that right now? To go where? Who would you recommend?
um oddly social media, which can be a scary place, but I think when you
Mhm.
find a good community there, it can be used for good.
Other survivors that have gone through it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's different communities out there,
There
like
is. There's 12-step
forums.
programs too. And, there's like, depending if he was an alcoholic, maybe Al-Anon or something like that, and getting a sponsor, or there's a lot of things you can go to. So, yeah. So thank you. So we have to get close to wrapping up.
Mhm.
And first of all, thank you so much for sharing that. I wanna finish the podcast with you about thinking something you're really grateful for. It could be one or two things or just one. We always do a gratitude. And I believe gratitude stumps sadness and just everything, anger. And if you're in gratitude, it's really hard to feel bad. So tell me a gratitude.
Um, oh gosh, gratitude.
Mhm.
I guess it, for me now, one of them would be the support system I have since coming out and telling people about this chapter of my life, my friends, my family, my current partner, just their words of affirmation.
Mhm.
I'm very grateful for. And my second one would be myself, my strength, my resilience, my hope. And yeah, I mean, I think you have to give credit to yourself because I mean you're the person who got through it. So yeah.
So, yay! So that's a beautiful gratitude. I'm so glad you came and spoke, and I know this is going to touch and help so many people. Nobody should ever make you feel to do something you don't want to do. Consent is a real thing. If you're going to be in a sexual relationship with somebody, if you don't want to do something, you don't have to. It doesn't matter how old you are. You get to walk away, and that's really important for you to know. Whoever's listening to this, maybe the younger people.
Mhm.
We're glad you're here. There's going to be a lot more speakers. We're going to cover a lot of subjects, so please come back. Thank you so much, Cam. And everybody, stay resilient now. Remember, stay resilient. Bye.